Well, well, well. Look who's back. It's your boy Divine back in the building. It's been a minute. It's been a hot minute, and I appreciate every single one of you guys dropping in uh, tonight for you guys back in the States. It is 8 a.m. where I'm at here in Thailand. And man, haven't been this excited for a fight in quite some time. As you guys probably have noticed, I kind of went off the radar for the past year and a half or so for various reasons, which maybe at one point I'll make a video about that. But in regards to YouTube, yeah, man, it got a little bit too chaotic, a little bit too personal. It was just draining my energy for unnecessary reasons. Boxing itself wasn't in the greatest state, but there was a couple fights in the past year and a half that I didn't really talk about. Obviously with Usyk doing his thing, and a few other fights. But look, we're here. All right, we're about to embark on an amazing journey here tomorrow to witness something that a lot of us won't be able to witness in a lifetime. We got a guy who's trying to go undisputed in multiple weight classes, and we have another guy trying to prove a point that I still got it, and I'm the king. I'm the king of boxing. And so this is something that we will tell our children and our grandchildren about, that we were able to witness this. When both of these fighters are, I wouldn't say that they are, in their prime, but I would say it's slightly better for sure than like the Pacquiao Mayweather situation, where they were both clearly starting to exit their prime. We can't really say honestly if, Crawford, who is a little bit older, is out of his prime, because he hasn't lost yet and he still looks good. And so until that day comes where he looks like he's lost it a little bit, to me, it's still a great fight, and they still have the youth and the energy to come on the stage. Uh, so, look, as I get started here, anybody that would like to join the panel, just drop a quick message in the chat. I'll probably drop the link anyways if you're on the run or you got multiple things going on. If you're in the building, though, let me know. I like to know who's in here. It's been a while, obviously, since I've done this. So if I don't recognize you, I apologize, but I do appreciate you immensely for sticking around, even though I haven't been active. I see my guy King Grayson. Definitely remember you, bro. I appreciate you stopping by. I know there's a lot of channels going live right now. Makes sense. So for you to come here, I appreciate you. So let me gather that link just in case there's anybody that would like to click it and jump in. This is the whole point. And in the meantime, I got the weigh in going on the side, just keeping an eye on that to see how these two men come in, weigh in. I'm not in the circles like I used to be. I used to be in contact with a lot of insiders, guys. I've been doing this shit for more than 15 years. And I would get inside stuff about camps and how fighters look and stuff like that. And I haven't been involved in it lately, but what I have heard, there were rumors spreading that Crawford was injured in training camp and had to take his foot off the gas earlier than what he wanted to. But again, that's a rumor. And as far as their weight and stuff like that, obviously, Crawford had to bulk up for this fight. And, you know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He didn't have a choice, really, fighting at, 147 and 154 for so long and then having to make a massive jump. He had no choice to put on weight. Will that affect him? Well, mostly in regards to his speed, right? Because we know he's a fast, cerebral fighter who uses his athleticism. So that's something that we have to look out for. Canelo's comfortable, at his weight. He's been here for a long time. You know what I mean? And so that is not something that I'm too concerned about in regards to weight. I expect Canelo to make the weight comfortably. I do expect Crawford to come in making the weight looking good. But again, how will that translate in the ring? So we're going to see. Who else we got dropping in? We got JD Walker, the boss talk. What's up, my guy? Yeah, I remember you, bro. Razor 531, legend. I definitely remember you. Platboy Plays. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course, I remember Platboy Plays. Platboy Plays, man, was one of the original subscribers when I came back and made this channel. And as I mentioned before, all those people who have just kind of, stayed loyal and kind of stand by waiting for Divine Sense to come back on the camera, knowing that one day he eventually will. And here I am. So I appreciate you guys. Trying to get this link to the panel. It's been a while, guys, man. It's been a while for me to figure this shit out on how to find the links and stuff like that. So bear with me as I try to get this. And I got the weigh-in going on at the side. As far as I know, I got the Netflix live stream going right now. As far as I know, they haven't done the weigh-ins yet. Interesting panel for the Netflix as well. It looks like they got what's that guy's name? Mario Lopez, I think. The dude that used to be on the hell was that damn show back in the 90s? Anyway, I think that's him. And Antonio Tarver. Interesting cast here on Netflix. Yeah, Playboy, I got you, bro. Let me do that right quick. That I do know how to do. I think. Yeah, so there's a poll going on in the chat too. So make sure you get the votes in, because as we continue on here, people will linger in, and I want to see what people are thinking and feeling. On the Netflix poll, it looks like Canelo's got the edge, but I'm not too surprised by that, to be honest. Kenneth Perry back in the building. Yes, sir. And by the way, I hope you guys were able to watch the two videos that I posted. Before I decided to come live and talk about this fight. I posted two videos about a month ago, and broke down the styles of the fighters and left my prediction. So hopefully you guys didn't miss that. It's on my page right now, a part 1 and a part 2. Part 1, I just basically talked about the tail of the tape and their records and, just more or less the foundation of the fight. And then part two, I really went into the styles and how I felt that they are going to present their style in the fight. And one thing I did mention was that I thought that Crawford will come out predominantly southpaw. He may switch it up from time to time, but I don't know why. I feel like he's definitely going to come out southpaw, and work behind that right jab. Try to make Canelo a little bit uncomfortable. So, what I'll do is I'll show you real quick. Man, I am so rusty at this shit. It's been a while. All right. So if you come over here, what's up, K-Rob? What's up, man? I see you, man. I remember. Oh, here it is. Okay. Now we're cooking. Oh, yo, StreamYard be moving shit around, bro. It's been more than a year since I've been on here. All right, so there's the link. Anybody wants to come in, click that link. We can chop it up for a bit. I'm gonna be on here for, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. Not too crazy long. I got shit to do later on. But yeah, there's the link. And all right, cool. Yeah, so like I said, hopefully you guys were able to watch my other two videos. And if you look right here, it's this one right here. Excuse me. Part two is the one that I would really recommend you guys watching, where I really got into the styles of the fight and really talked about how I feel this fight's going to go down on a stylistic viewpoint. Who's this bitch ass? Dungeon Master. Oh, I knew it was just a matter of time some bitch would come up in here. As a matter of fact, bitch, I didn't disappear after the Fury Wilder fight. I was around quite some time after that. You faggot, the fuck off my page. The crazy thing is, they're still talking about Wilder. Yo, hey, wrenches, man, y'all gonna have to do some work. Y'all gonna have to start doing some work. It started. Didn't take long. Didn't take long. That's funny as fuck. We're over here talking about Canelo and Crawford, and some guys just got to come in here and bring up that they just cannot forget Wilder. They just can't keep his name off their tongue. Anyway, the link is in the chat. Anybody who wants to come in, if I don't know you, I ain't letting you in. I'm just letting you know. That's off the top. So depends on you on how you want to play it, if you want to take the risk, because if you do slip in, I will embarrass you. All right. So what I'm playing in the background right now is a video I made about a month ago, talking about the styles of the fight and how I think it's going to go down. And let me just play that for a little bit, and y'all can peek it, and just wait a little bit longer to see how many more people come in here, because I think there might be a couple of people joining the panel.
Come out, and he's going to step in with that big long jab, boom, boom, and double it up sometimes, right? He's going to keep that foot on the outside, and he's going to change the angle, bam, and pop it in there, right? Boom, go to the body, and he's going to check for Canelo's reaction, I think. right? So I think early in the fight, he's going to be finding that range, right? Taking his time, keeping that wide stance, just in case, Canelo decides to try to come in on him. He can take a real quick step back, right, and keep those long arms out in front of him, right? Now, the thing about Bud in comparison to other Canelo opponents, we're talking like Billy Joe Saunders, who's a really good boxer, and some others, he's so, in my opinion, especially in the southpaw position, because I think that he's right-hand dominant. That's my opinion, okay?
All right, so if you're just filtering in, make sure y'all hit that like button as you come in. Karma Boxing MMA, what's up, my guy? I remember you, bro. Good to see you step in. Hit that like button for me. Your boy's back. I really do appreciate the support to motivate me to really come back, hopefully, and be a bit more consistent out here. So make sure you hit the like button. The link to the panel, if you want to jump in and chop it up, is also in the chat. I'll go ahead and pin that. The weigh-ins have started. The undercard has started. So we're just gonna see, how this plays out as far as the weigh-in, and see how they look and see what the weights are. And in the meantime, because I don't want no copyright shit, I'm just gonna play this video in the background if you guys are curious of me breaking down the styles of the two fighters and how I think the fight's going to play out. So once Canelo and Crawford is getting close to step on the scale, I'll give you guys my reaction and thoughts.
Just by watching his fights. So I think that right hand is so long, it's so accurate, it's so sharp. I think he has one of the best, southpaw stance jabs in the business. That's just my opinion. And I think it's going to be something that Canelo's going to have to work around, because Canelo has struggled against long, accurate jabs in previous fights. All right, now as the fight goes on, I feel like Bud is then going to start to try to find the left hand, and he's going to try to start hooking off his jab, right? And the thing I love about Bud is that he keeps his distance pretty well. A lot of people criticize him because they say, he lets his hands down, he's a bit reckless. The only time he ever does that is when he has his opponent hurt. Other than that, he keeps his spacing really good. So eventually, once he's pumping out that jab, and he likes to step into it, he likes to make you feel the jab. He's not one of these guys that's kind of like, popping it out there, popping it out there. Now he steps into it, and he's really good because he's got such a long reach to kind of take that little step back, right, to stay out of the danger zone. And that 3.5, 4-inch reach advantage is something that you can't just turn a blind eye to, which the shorter arm Canelo is going to have to use his footwork to get past that jab. Now, we'll talk about Canelo in a minute. Just hold your horses. So I feel like Bud is going to establish that jab, and then he's going to start to shoot that left hand down the pipe and get into that body. He's going to sometimes jab body or go jab, and he's going to test down the pipe as well. We know that Canelo's got a really nice tight guard. Defense is really good, got excellent punch resistance. So I think Bud is going to test that, right? Up and down, body, head, and then he's going to start hooking off of it. So he's going to step in, he's going to step around, bam, right? He's going to start hooking and force Canelo to continue to pivot and move. And I just feel like Bud is really going to box, right? He's going to, bam, and he's going to stay here, bam, right? Sticking it, bam, sticking it, right? Maybe taking a page out of Sugar Ray Leonard's playbook when he fought Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And a lot of people say, they're not the same fighter. Sugar Ray and Bud, two different fighters. Sugar Ray was a lot faster, a lot more boxing. True, but nonetheless, Marvelous and Marvin Hagler was the biggest puncher and as a middleweight, and maybe one of the best punchers of all time, best chins, most durability, best conditioning of all time. And Canelo's got a lot of similarities to that, right? And so that's one way you can.
If you're just dropping in, make sure you hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. My name's Divine Sense Boxing. I'm going to be here to give you guys my reaction to the weigh-in and break down the fight. The link to join the panel and chop it up is pinned up at the top. Feel free to hit it if you want to chop it up. And in the meantime, as we wait for Canelo and Crawford to get on the scale, I'm just playing a video that I made about a month ago, breaking down the styles of the fight and how I think it's going to happen. So sit tight, hit the like button, get comfortable, and we're about to start to cook here very, very soon.
Control the bull is you got to be the matador, especially in the beginning. Okay. Now let's talk about Canelo, beginning part of the fight. Like I said, I think Canelo is going to be really patient. He's kind of he's got the little bounce, but more or less.
TS Boxing was good, bro. I appreciate you stopping by.
The high guard, and he's kind of like, yeah, I got my hands up. I want you to punch me because I want to check your range. So, when Bud throws that jab, he's gonna catch it, right? He's gonna catch it on his arms. He's gonna parry it out, and he like to stalk you. But he's got a pretty decent jab himself. He kind of puts his back foot. I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera. He kind of puts his back foot at an angle like that, and it gives him a lot of pushing power off of his jab, right? And I like that about him. So he comes in, and he really has this real powerful lower body. And for those who don't know, Canelo rides a lot of horses, right? So he's got a super strong core and strong legs and squeezing the horse all the time. And he jumps out like a catapult when he does his jab as well. He's got this high guard, classic boxing stance, boom, powerful jab, and steps into it. And he kind of just has that nice, beautiful rhythm when he pumps that jab out. So with that reach disadvantage, what I think Canelo's going to do is when Bud throws his jab, he's going to parry, he's going to catch, and he's going to shoot in with his own jab, right? He's going to catch, shoot in with his own jab, and try to catch Bud with a nice, short, stiff jab. Now, Canelo's also pretty clever, more clever than what people give him credit for. And
yeah, and I really do think that Canelo's going to try and stay in Crawford's chest as much as he possibly can. I think he's smart enough to know, he's been around long enough to know, he's been in enough fights, pretty good caliber of fighters, very long, rangy, good boxers. Billy Joe Saunders to name a few. He's been in there against Floyd, obviously. I don't think he's gonna at least try to not allow Crawford to use his range. He knows he's got the reach advantage by like 3.5, 4 inches, which is a lot in boxing. Every inch counts for sure. And I just don't think he's going to allow Crawford to be comfortable and use that southpaw jab and, line up long-ranging shots. I think he's going to try to stay in his chest, counter over the jab to the sternum, and just give some very methodical and controlled pressure on Crawford for a good 3 or 4 rounds for sure. Even if he loses some of those rounds, I don't think he minds. As long as he's just keeping up that pressure and just putting the jab and the right hand down the pipe anywhere down, any contact point, basically, I think is what he's going to try to do. And really, really take his time. I'm going to be surprised if Canelo just comes out and just tries to knock out Crawford early. If anybody does that, it might be Bud, to be honest with you. He might surprise us all and try to jump on Canelo early. Maybe he's super confident in his conditioning. And in a way, I was thinking about that because I was thinking about how that would really shock everybody. Think about the one thing that would shock people the most. It would be Crawford just jumping on Canelo, because everybody has this perception that Canelo's the bigger guy. He's been at, this weight class for longer. He's more comfortable. Everybody seems to be kind of scared of Canelo other than maybe Triple G. And they're a little bit hesitant, Caleb Plant was fighting from a distance and Billy Joe was trying to fight from a distance. And a lot of other fighters are kind of reluctant. Even the fight that Bivol, right? Like, Even Bivol was very careful, and he did a fantastic job boxing. Don't get me wrong, but he wasn't like he tried to step to Canelo and beat him up. So it would be the most surprising thing if Crawford just at the first bell, like what's the fight that I'm trying to think of, Hearns and Hagler, right? Where they both just came out. Well, more so Hearns. Hearns just jumped all over Hagler, and people just were standing up. They weren't even sitting down in their seats for the first 3 rounds. I mean, it was just constant, barrage of punches. And that would shock people. That would shock me. If Crawford said, y'all think I'm small, y'all think I'm weak, y'all think I'm scared of this man, and just jump on him. And I think Canelo will also be very, very surprised. Um, but I would be really, really surprised, because that's a huge gamble on Crawford's part. But other than that, like I said, if I was a betting man and I were to, you know, guess on the pace of the fight, I would assume that, Canelo would come out doing what he normally does, stalk, keep the pressure on, make sure that he's staying square in front of his opponent, and Crawford trying to use his range, trying to establish his jab, trying to, see what he can get away with some check left hooks, see what he can get, see if he can throw a rangy uppercut, and just kind of feel it out. That's what I would um, assume, right? Like that would be the safe route for both of them, because that's in their comfort zone. But again, like I said, the biggest surprise would be Crawford to be like, you know what, y'all don't expect this. I know Canelo's not going to expect it, and jump on him. And and he has that ability. You know what I mean? He has that ability. Crawford is a multifaceted, athlete slash boxer who has a lot of tools in his bag. He can box, he can counterpunch, and he can jump on you, and he can hurt you. So, in that regard, he could jump all over Canelo in the first 2 or 3 rounds and see if he can hurt him. And if he can't, then he might, you know, take a step back, gather his breath, and start boxing. Um, but one thing that I pointed out in my video, that I was showing here, is that Canelo is really good at catching shots and then firing on the inside. So there's something about Canelo that he kind of likes you to open up. He wants you to open up because he loves to catch and shoot. He does that shit all the time, and he goes to the body quite aggressively as well. So, um, so yeah. Who we got in here? We got K Rod, man. What's up, bro? It's been a long time, man. How you been?
Hey, how's it going, Devon? Long time no see. Happy to be back. Um, yeah, man, I really wish you were around for the past couple fights from, you know, like from this year with like all the boxing events, because there were a lot of good fights that went down. But I think like for this fight with Canelo and Crawford, me personally, I think this is huge. I think historically for just American history for boxing, this is huge because Crawford has the ability to do something that's similar to like what Sugar Ray Robinson did. And I think like this is something where that would kind of top that, but that would make Crawford like a really good like all-time great. And as much as I criticize Bud for how he moved in his career, um, I really wish he did this a lot sooner, but he did this to kind of like accelerate his career faster because just doing this like literally at the tail end of your career, but you're still in that prime zone type of career. I think this is something that should have been done a lot sooner because Crawford, he has all the tools and he's like, he's a really great multi, like basically he's a great versatile fighter. that can possess a lot of great fundamental knowledge. And I personally wish that this was shown a lot sooner because I knew Crawford was going to be great. And I think with Canelo, this is like the greatest opportunity to showcase that. But I think like Crawford has not shown his true skill, at this particular stage, and it's going to be interesting to see where he's going to go into this fight because I think stylistically he's going to give Canelo the toughest fight of his career. But Crawford, he has to prove himself of how difficult this fight will be for him because we haven't seen those tools of like what Crawford can do, and that's my only biggest concern for Crawford because I tell other people that like to lie about Crawford and try to say that he's so great, he's all this and all that, and he doesn't need to fight all these top guys that were in his prime just like him. But I tell them like, okay, well if that's true, why wasn't Crawford going after these bigger names to showcase that while he was younger? Because Crawford, he had the ability to do that during that time frame. Whether if you want to go back to like the lightweight days, heading into welterweight, he could have done the same thing. Like he could have done pretty much the same thing of like what Canelo should have done, but but that path should have been a lot greater. And Crawford, he should have been at least a 3 division or 4 division undisputed world champion. So, in my honest opinion, I just wish that this was done a lot sooner because I know Crawford is a great fighter, but it's like people just don't be honest with how Crawford moves because that's the biggest caveat. Crawford has not shown us that, and he could have done that a lot sooner when he was in his prime compared to what we're seeing right now. And I hope he wins, but this is going to be like the most difficult fight on both sides.
Um, Salute, Divine. Yeah, I just wanted to come up and chat with you. Good to see you back, bro. You still in what's that, Thailand?
Yes, sir. I'm
Oh,
still out
okay.
here, and
How's the gym's going?
yeah, all good, bro.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
to
I'm just
just to familiarize you with things. I changed my avatar and stuff like that up a lot. I've been rocking with you since we used to talk about Wilder
okay.
before he
Okay, yeah.
fought before way before he fought Tyson Fury during the AJ days.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, that's how long I've been rocking with you. But um, I would give the good brother there some pushback on some of the things that he was saying because um, he was the first male boxer in the four belt era to become undisputed. He was also the first male boxer in the four belt era um, to become undisputed in 2 divisions. He's one of the longest pound for pound list fighters in boxing history, next to Canelo. I mean, both of them have been on that list forever. Although it's highly subjective and things like that, but it's still an accolade to tout. At the end of the day, for me, when I look at this fight, um, I have to ask myself certain questions. How did Bud put on the weight when I compare the other fighters who came up to fight Canelo? He had over 13 months to put on that weight. So that scientifically and the way he looked in the weigh-ins, it looked like they did a phenomenal job. We just got to see the performance aspect of it right now. So the weight is not an issue to me. Reach is not an issue to me. IQs, they both have high IQs. So then it comes down to me. I have to nitpick at certain things. All right. I ask myself, who is tailor made for whom? And looking at their career. And then I ask myself, all right, so if Canelo is a come forward fighter, how do I rate Canelo overall against some of the legendary come forward fighters? Since a lot of people want to give Canelo sometimes this godlike status, although some of the weird Terence Crawford fans do the same thing. So I have to say it like this against uh,
Hey,
Marvin Hagler.
hey, hold your thought just for a moment.
Okay,
Crawford's on the scale.
okay.
Terence Bud Crawford. And his opponent,
I think it just said 167.8 for Crawford.
Alvarez.
I think it might be 167.5 because they both, from what happened in whatever earlier, they both supposed to have weighed in the same exact weight.
No, Alvarez, he is the singular face of boxing. He's been the biggest star in the sport for some time now. And I agree. Let's give Terence Crawford all the credit for no rehydration clause. But Canelo Alvarez, his two losses to Floyd Mayweather with a rehydration clause and at a catch weight, and then to Dimitri Bivol at 175. At 168, I think that's his best weight, Mario.
And that's the thing, Mike. He dares to be great. He takes on the best challenges. He's challenged himself on a higher weight. He's now facing pound for pound, arguably the best fighter in the gang. That's why it means so much to their legacy.
167.
Both of these guys are ready.
Wow.
From the scales, man. The fight of the century.
All right, 167.5 for Canelo.
I mean, I keep hearing about how Terence Crawford and Canelo are the same size, but they clearly aren't. Mike Lines.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't see much size difference here, y'all.
Crawford has always been a strong individual, even if it doesn't translate necessarily to his fists and strong strength. You can't move him around. He's got that country strength, if you will, and he's very strong when you go in.
But yeah, I mean, Crawford looks jacked. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, it looked like they did a damn good job with him, bro.
They did an amazing
Nutritionist
job.
And the strength and conditioning
I
coaches.
think that Crawford thinks of himself as the bigger fighter. He's also the kind of guy, it's wrestling strength. When he wrestled as a kid, he's really good at...
You got a mean fight getting ready to happen.
You're exactly right. Again, a credit to
Yeah.
his strength.
And, you know, there was a lot of speculation on whether Crawford was even going to be able to get close to 168. A lot of people thought he's going to come in at like 162.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, I train for everything. I get back in basic. I need to put everything.
Canelo looks good too, though.
Yeah,
Thank you, Canelo.
this is one of the best I've seen Canelo in the weigh-ins in a minute.
Yeah,
Like his,
it looks
his
like he
skin
took this fight
complexion. Yeah,
serious,
Yeah.
which is what you want if you're Crawford. You don't want any excuses.
Yeah, I know Crawford had a shoulder injury.
nah,
Based off of what I heard.
he didn't. I saw the interview. The dude asked him, and he clowned him like, you can't be seriously asking me that.
Happiest of your career.
No, that was actually true. He did have like a shoulder injury.
Oh, wonderful. I can't wait until tomorrow.
Thank you, bud.
That was short and sweet. How do you feel? Great. Okay, see you tomorrow.
So, gentlemen, we saw two guys who look incredible at the scales, but because he looked great at the scales, it doesn't necessarily mean he'll be.
I feel like Bud looks way bigger than Canelo.
It's just crazy how Crawford he's kind of like an anomaly, right? Like, think about it. At one point, he was at 140. Not
35.
too long. Yeah, like that's crazy. And the thing is that people don't understand. For me, as a personal trainer, it's what I do for a living, right? Helping people lose weight, gain weight, etc.
Yep.
Like, you have to understand that not only does he have to build muscle, he has to also do his cardio work. He's got to do his, anaerobic exercises. He's burning a lot of calories. And most athletes have a high metabolism. There's so much that goes into it. And the amount of work, the amount of food that you got to eat, the amount of sleep that you got to get, the right training that you got to do, because if you do too much cardio, you can't get enough muscle. If you do too much strength training, you get strong and big, but then you don't have your cardio. There's so much that people don't understand. Whereas Canelo didn't have to battle with that as much because obviously he's been at the weight class much, much longer.
Yeah, I think Crawford should have taken a fight at 168 before fighting Canelo. Simply because, in my honest opinion, if I was in that position, I would have fought somebody that would give you like a good fight, but it would get you acclimated to the weight, but it would be competitive. Like I would have taken like a good like top 10 like opponent, and then just fight Canelo after that, just to like give Crawford like that little, like tune up type of fight. But I mean, I respect Crawford going straight after Canelo, but I just think like in my mind, taking a fight at like at the weight class just to see how you feel is just like a better move versus just going straight after somebody simply because like from from a weight cutting perspective, like if you're not even too sure if your body's going to be acclimated to that weight class effectively, if you're having to struggle more just to like get your body shaped up for that weight class and you haven't taken like a punch yet, then it's gonna falter you more heading into that fight because it's like you don't know what the physical complications will be because if your body's not gonna take that punishment of the power shots that are coming at you, then I think Crawford should have at least tested that to see where his longevity can be met for that type of risk.
Well, he kind of. I'm. You're gonna hear from me, and because I'm a huge Crawford fan. I was a huge Errol Spence fan before the Crawford and Bud fight, but I just always felt that Errol wasn't gonna beat him based on styles. Um, at the end of the day, when if you want to ask that question, or even some of us hardened Bud fans was like, listen, if he gonna go up there and do anything, when William Skull was elevated, we were like, listen, you got that direct link to Turk. You feel what I'm saying? Go up there and fight William Skull. Take that easy ass belt. So if Canelo want to spin the block and say I want to become undisputed or 2-time undisputed, he got to come see you. You feel what I'm saying? Uh, outside of outside of that, it's like okay, even if you do that, um, I don't know how the fight gets promoted if that's the way you want to go. And from the way Bud wanted to do it to show, all right, I'm great at this, and everyone's always been challenging me and taking things away from victories and stuff like that away from me and my accolades away from me. I'll just go straight up and do it and see what y'all say after that. So he has his reasons for doing it. It's not my place to wish what I would want to wish upon him. I could, as a fan, say this is what I would like to see, but he ultimately knows him. So if this he asked for this fight, remember Canelo said no way. There was some problems with the Turk because Canelo didn't like the way the Turk was trying to get at him and not following protocol to reach him and things like that. And the fight was up in the air for a minute. So Bud has to go in there and show fans of his whatever capacity, whether you were or not, or whether you just started to respect him, that he asked for this fight, and you got to go in there and show out. I think that's going to happen because, like I was saying earlier, this man is tailor made for Terence Crawford. Stylistically, you're tailor made for this guy. Expect something that y'all didn't see already. And just like Divine said before, when he was like, "Listen, nobody expected Bud to fight like that against Earl." Well, I'm saying it right now. Expect that type of performance against Canelo because Terence Crawford asked for this fight. This is
I
something he
mean,
really wants.
I mean to that point, there's something about Crawford, right? It's like the more people doubt him, the more he shows up, right? And it's a weird type of, I don't say weird, but it's an interesting energy because his last fight, he didn't look that spectacular. Let's be honest.
Yes.
And but that's also because if you look at that, it's nobody was really paying attention to that fight. Everyone was like, yeah, he should win that fight. He didn't maybe have the right motivation. But when you go back to the Spence fight, everyone, I won't say everyone, but a pretty big majority was saying that Spence just hits too hard, he's too strong. And the only doubt that people had in their mind about Spence was the eye injury and the car accident. Other than that, people are like, Spence should win this, right? And Crawford loved it. He loved every moment that people doubted him. And there's something about, and even when he fought Sean Porter, kind of similar, right? Oh, Sean might be too rugged. He might be too tough. He won't be able to handle the pressure. You can never knock down Sean Porter, this, that, whatever. And the more people doubt Bud, the better he performs. And that's just fact. You can look back at his record and his biggest fights and his biggest moments, even at the lower weight classes. And once again, I mean, I'm looking at the poll here on the Netflix live stream, and 65% of the people have Canelo winning the fight. So that's the overall sentiment, right? You look in my poll, it's 60% for Crawford, but we got real boxing fans in here. You know what I'm saying? We don't got no casuals up in here. So that makes more sense. But that's another factor that you have to consider. Is it something that wins you the fight necessarily? No. But what I would say to AC's point is that don't be too surprised anymore. Like, don't act shocked if Crawford comes out and just jumps all over Canelo and just says, "Hey, y'all think I'm scared? You think I'm too small? You guys are underestimating me. It's been 4 months or longer since you guys been doubting me. Canelo's the king. Okay, I'm going to show you what's up." And I'm sure there's people, and my last note, and I'll turn it over to you guys, is that I'm pretty sure people in Crawford's camp, people close to him in the boxing circles, have whispered in his ear and told him, like, yo, it might be too risky to try and take this 12. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it a buck. Anytime Canelo's been involved in a close fight where it goes 12,
always favor him.
Canelo gets the nod. He's always got except against Mayweather, but then Mayweather completely outclassed him and embarrassed him, and it was a split decision. One judge gave it to Canelo.
Crazy.
So that's my point.
So, she was definitely biased up against Floyd Mayweather, and she never judged any more fights past that for Floyd's fights at all. That was just for that one particular instance that she was biased for Canelo. And honestly, I don't know if most people could agree with me, but I think if judges do that where they're being biased for a fighter, they should be sued and they should be they should be banned, for for doing that, because that's one, that's considered fraudulent, activity behavior, and two, that's not even being fair for either fighter. So it's you're stealing that victory away from that fighter that should win, and you're stealing money away from the fans that paid money to go see that fight.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of conspiracy around that shit when it comes to Canelo. I mean, you can go all the way back to fucking Austin Trout. That was a pretty close fight.
Arizona,
there's so many.
Even in the Bivol fight, one of the judges had a weird scorecard. Like, how did you see that many rounds to Canelo?
Yeah, when Bivol dominated him the whole fight and came close to stopping him, and then Canelo, he got way too tired, to that point where it looked like he was slowing down, and Bivol, he got tired, but he decided to take rounds off, just to beat him down for the rest of the fight. He could have stopped Canelo, but he was just playing it safe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, don't be surprised if Crawford tries to just take matters into his own hands. Because, I mean, think about it this way. Crawford is, if you look at the position of who has more to lose, it's Canelo.
Yeah.
Right? Because if Crawford loses, it's kind of like, well, I jumped up 3 fucking weight classes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I dared to be great.
On your resume.
Yeah, I mean, you got it on your resume. You dared to be great. You lost, whatever. You go back to the drawing board. Maybe you go back to 160, 154, whatever. But if Canelo loses, it's it's, I wouldn't say catastrophic, but it's a big blow because you lost to Bivol, who's a high quality fighter. Um, and then you look at the guys that you did beat, let's say the guys that he beat soundly. They're not the caliber of Bivol or Crawford. So how good is Canelo really?
Yeah.
Right. So it's a huge blow to him. So what I'm saying is Crawford's entering this fight as a smaller man with less to lose. So why would he be like timid and try to play it safe? Like he might just be like, I know I'm fast. I got the reach advantage. Canelo's not going to expect me to come out fast because Canelo has an ego. Canelo has pride. Canelo is used to being the boogeyman. He's used to being the bully. He's used to being, and you can see that against Bivol. And that's why he started so slow. And then he tried to turn it up late, and it was too late. And even when he tried to turn it up, he had took too much damage with the jab and other body punches that he didn't have the stamina in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th round to do anything anyways. And Canelo is a notorious slow starter. Look how long it took him to figure out Caleb Plant. Right?
Yeah,
And if Caleb Plant's conditioning was better, Caleb Plant could have won that fight.
Yeah.
yeah. I was just gonna say with Caleb Plant. I was gonna ask you, do you know that YouTuber Ricky Williams, that also talks boxing? Have you talked with him, Divine?
Sorry, who was that?
That black YouTuber, Ricky Williams. He has his own, YouTube channel.
Oh
Where
yeah. Ricky. Yeah. I remember Ricky.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I remember that day when I was talking with him the day after the fight. He basically kind of said like the same thing that you said, but he said Caleb Plant should have stayed defensively switched on. But it was that mental fortitude too, because he kind of like bought into Canelo's, mind trap, where he was just trying to think that he wasn't on that level. But then when Caleb was just letting Canelo kind of like beat him down, and then he fell to his own weakness of his stamina getting beat up throughout the fight until he got knocked out. That just pretty much like made Caleb Plant more vulnerable through the like throughout the fight. And if Caleb Plant, if he had great conditioning and he did that the whole fight, Canelo Alvarez definitely would have lost because Canelo he had no other way to figure out Caleb as soon as that happened. Because I think the good thing about Caleb is that he's so selectively accurate with his counterpunching ability and the speed and accuracy with that agility motion with how he shifts his shots to make sure that when he's outboxing somebody, he keeps everything consistent on the outside, and then if he needs to rough someone up on the inside, he does a really good job trying to like do let the catch and shoot type of technical, fundamentals as far as like how he fights.
But for me, Caleb Plant fell victim to the slow, forced pressure of Canelo Alvarez. You're picking him apart, but you can't find yourself in a position where you can actually get on your front foot. And that's Caleb Plant's. That's when you see Caleb Plant really put it together. He fought a good fight, in my opinion. In my opinion, I think he could have won. There were some times he got on the front foot, but it was short lived. Canelo was able to make that next adjustment in real time to force Caleb Plant going backwards, and then other factors and things like that. But for me, it was just more like from what Boots said in his last interview, and I was like, wow, he was genuinely honest right there, where he said the scary thing with when I was sparring with Canelo was his patience and pressure.
Yeah,
And for me, um, that's going to be the thing, partly in this fight with Bud. Although Bud is going to, I think Bud is far more a better athlete, and I think he has overall better conditioning. I don't know what his conditioning is looking like at 68, but I seen what it looked like when he came in at 168 pounds fight night for Madrimov. You feel what I'm saying? Some people say he slowed down, but I was telling cats, listen, Madrimov is a different athlete. I seen this dude switch it in the middle of a punch combination and still land on both sides. So he's 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 a special. To me, I like Madrimov, and I'm still a fan of Madrimov. But when it comes down to styles, I keep having to go back to this stylistically and things like that. Yes, Canelo is a great come forward fighter. If he beats Bud, he will go in my probably top 25 or top 15 come forward fighters because he's going to own this era of being the best come forward fighter in my opinion. So there's some things for me that I'm looking to see from Canelo. Um, if he wins and in his victory, I'll be looking for those things. But I just think stylistically, this is just going to be a nightmare for him. This fight is. I'm like, wow, I can't believe he took it. So at the end of the day, who has beaten Canelo? Um, extremely good boxers, extremely people, good boxers with high ring IQs. And when you look at the Danny Jacobs, you look at the uh, uh, the Triple G's and all of these guys, they were great fighters, but they didn't have the ring IQ of Canelo nor Terence Crawford. And that's what ultimately made the decision. Although people still have questions for the first Triple G fight, so at the end of the day, he persevered with ring IQ, gave a perception if that's what it is, with the weird judging controversy around his name.
Yeah, and the Triple G fight to me was just it's a fan favorite fight. It's just a tailor-made fight.
Yeah.
There's nothing that was really a separator even on paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Even before they stepped into the ring, it wasn't like boxer versus brawler, classic type matchup. It was literally two guys have a very similar style, similar approach. Who's going to be stronger than the other? It was
Yeah.
like a fucking strongman competition.
That's kind of the way I viewed it.
Yeah, and so you sit and you watched it as a fan. Sure, great to watch because you're like, oh, who's gonna take more punishment? Who's gonna endure more? But like people in the past have called me a Canelo hater and this and that. The guy is where he's at for the most part. I mean, there's some fights on his resume that I kind of like. I don't know if he earned that W. But for the most part, he's earned his place. You know what I mean? And I don't want to discredit him to the point where, I mean, obviously, if I discredit him, then I discredit Crawford.
Yeah.
And that's the thing people need to realize. That if you want to take a shit on Canelo all the time, well, you're kind of taking a shit on Crawford too.
Yeah, but then why is he going up to 68 to fight a bum?
Exactly. So he's not a bum. He's and for Mexico as well. Like that's another thing. If you look at it that way, he is one of the best fighters that came out of Mexico. But for people to compare him to De La Hoya, that's where I kind of say,
Yeah, you're not the boxer De La Hoya.
And I think that's actually one thing that fuels him, though, because as we know, they don't like each other anymore. And I think that is one thing that does fuel Canelo is that when it's all said and done, he wants to be remembered as good, if not better, than De La Hoya, just because they have that animosity. And beating Crawford does make a case for him for sure, because De La Hoya, as he started moving up in weight classes. I mean, he was having a death match against Shane Mosley. He lost to Bernard Hopkins and some other fighters, and obviously Floyd got him towards the end of his career. Pacquiao fucking tore him to shreds.
Yeah.
So he has those kind of blemishes towards the end of his career. But at the same time, I always ask this when people make that comparison, who is Canelo's Trinidad?
I'd say
Right? Like
Salvador
that,
Santos.
that's a decent comparison, but it's kind of like, for me, what I'm trying to highlight is, what is Canelo's motivation other than, you're trying to, beat Crawford, the self-explanatory. And
Oh,
for me, it's getting out of De La Hoya's shadow and trying to be the best, or recognized as the best Mexican fighter,
hey,
which is good.
hey, Divine, I wanted to add in like another Mexican fighter that not a lot of people really talk about. I believe he was undisputed in the bantamweight division. His name was his nickname was Chucho Castillo, Jesus Castillo Aguilera. Um, I believe he was undisputed with the WBA and WBC back in the 1970s, right?
Oh, okay. I thought it was 80s, but yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like I might have to go back and look at his box track. I'm gonna look at that right now. I'm actually on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in boxing, we forget about the small guys. They don't get as much recognition as they should a lot of times. You got guys in the bantamweights and these flyweights, really small weight classes, that are like 90-2 with multiple championships, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. But look, guys, let's do it this way. There's a lot of channels going live right now, but let's get our official predictions in, just for the sake of this conversation, and the chat as well. Feel free to drop it in. I mean, the poll is looking quite interesting. 57% says Crawford by decision. There's 14% saying Crawford by stoppage. And we got a pretty decent percentage for Canelo by decision. And then only 10% saying Canelo by stoppage, which I kind of find interesting, that people think Canelo might win, but they don't think he's going to stop Crawford. Him being, essentially, quote unquote, the bigger man. I find that a little bit interesting from Canelo fans, because obviously Canelo fans are going to vote that way, for Canelo to take the victory. So, I guess I'll start it, and then I'll swing it around. The thing that's interesting about fights, it always happens, 2 months out, a month out, you look at it in certain ways, but as the fight gets closer and closer and closer, you see the weigh-ins, you see how their bodies look, you see their demeanor, you see their energy, then it might, change your prediction slightly. Maybe you thought it's a stoppage, maybe it's going to be a decision, or whatever the case may be. And I always go through that for all the years I've been talking about boxing. So with that being said, originally, in my previous videos about this fight, I said that I think Crawford is going to win by decision. And that's always, I'm always hesitant to say that, for the facts that I mentioned before, that Canelo in close fights usually gets the nod. But being optimistic as I can, and assuming that the judges will be fair, and I see somebody just put in the chat, okay, Tin Cheatno, Max DeLuca, and Steve Weisfeld. Yeah, I mean, classic judges there. It's not too much of a surprise. Could be worse, could be better as far as the judges. So being optimistic and seeing that they're going to judge the fight fairly and correctly, I think Crawford will just be I think he's just going to be too athletic. I mean, that's the one word that I really highlighted in all of my conversations with people and my breakdown videos. He's just too athletic, man. And he has more of an adaptability. If it gets rugged, he can get rugged. He is fantastic on the inside, way more fantastic than what people give him credit for with his, people point at his wrestling background, which is true. But it's also the intelligence on the inside and because at the end of the day, you're not wrestling. Having wrestling ability helps, but you're still in a boxing ring. You need to know how to get out of sticky situations against a guy who's also a very good inside fighter, who loves to go to the body on the inside and has fantastic body shots and things like that. And if he needs to fight at range, he can do so. If he feels like he needs to counterpunch more, he can do so. If he needs to be on the back foot and get away from danger, he can do so. There's just so many boxes that I can check that I'm confident that Crawford can do. And I think that if he has to make adjustments, he can. And usually in these big fights that typically go 12, especially at this weight class, we're not talking about heavyweights here. If we're talking about heavyweights, there's a much higher possibility of a knockout, obviously. But at 168, knockouts usually come later, like later in the fight. And so with that being said, I just think that usually it comes down to who can adapt more, who can make the changes. That's what made Mayweather great. Is he can just make the changes. He can adapt. When Shane Mosley rocked him and everyone thought it was over, he came out and put it on Shane Mosley, bro. Like he was like, oh, okay. And guess what? Mayweather never got hit with that shot the rest of the fight. He got hit with it once, and that was it. And Crawford is not quite that level because he's not defense first, but he has that adaptability. Adaptability, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. To not make the same mistakes more than once or twice, and that's usually what wins these big fights. And I think the range is going to be a problem for Canelo. It's just I can go on and on and on, but I think it's just going to be too much overall. And I have Crawford by decision. But I will make a quick side note that I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if and it's crazy to think about. Like it's almost out of this world to think about. But I won't be surprised if Crawford stops Canelo, guys. I won't be surprised. Like, I mean, as a boxing fan, you're like, oh, shit, I can't believe that just happened. But as a boxing purist and in the times that I've, studied the history of the sport, I won't be that surprised. Especially if Crawford decides to come out early and put it on him and just beat him up for 3 or 4 rounds. And it might not be like a knockout, but it could be a stoppage. It's very, very possible. But if I were to put money on it, put my house on it, I would say Crawford by decision. Being optimistic about the judges, of course. And that's my take. And sorry, one last thing. If Canelo were to win this fight, I also have him winning it by decision. I don't see Canelo knocking out Crawford. Not because Crawford can't be hurt, not because Crawford is superhuman and has, an all-time best chin, even though he does have a great chin, in my opinion. It's just going to be either Crawford can't let his hands go like the way he should, and Canelo doesn't know, because Canelo wins rounds not because he accumulates points methodically and like Mayweather was really good at jabbing to the body and making you miss and landing clean flush shots, and then he would put rounds in the bank. Canelo wins rounds because of the ooh and ah punches, right? Crawford can throw 12 punches to Canelo's fucking 4, but those 4 that he throws could be, wow type punches that gets the crowd riled up, and it's probably going to be a pro Canelo crowd, We have to consider that as well. And the judges do get swayed by that. They're human at the end of the day. And, if these big punches land over the top or he gets really nice body shots in, even though Crawford takes them, those are the types of rounds that Canelo will win. But I just don't see him knocking out Crawford, just because Crawford's too athletic, too well conditioned to expose himself to the point where he's going to get caught with his chin up in the air and get knocked out. I just don't really see it happening. So I wanted to throw that out there as well. So I'll swing it around to AC and let us know your prediction.
I actually have the fight by TKO stoppage. When you look at the bulk of Terence Crawford's stoppages, um, he has extremely respectable power, what I would call sneaky power, to whereas most of the people that sparred him or talk about him say so. That sneaky power, and this is where I'm going to bring in his wrestling pedigree. His wrestling is the thing that when Canelo goes to clinch with him and try to get him in the corner and try to muscle him, because one of my keys for victory for Canelo to win is you got to beat Bud up. You got to let Bud know that 13 months or 15 months you had to put on this weight and do what you do, that shit don't mean nothing because I've been here for years. I'm an LL Cool J for you. Don't call us a comeback. I've been here for years. So that type of attitude right there, I think Canelo has to take that in and just go to old school Canelo, punches and bunches when he used to throw those combinations at top and body when you would hear uh, what's the name talk about body head, and when he would talk about Canelo's fight, he's one of the masters of upstairs and downstairs combinations. Those are the keys to victory for me for Canelo. For Terence Crawford, you got to reach, establish that jab. Even if you choose to switch it and go from a more precise jab to that power jab that you used in the Errol Spence fight, that jab is your key because Canelo's not that good in resetting. He's good in making adjustments, but if you constantly have that man resetting like Floyd Mayweather did and Bivol did, it'll start to frustrate him, and then he starts to gas out because he's trying to get his get back. And that constant reset is the thing that's going to make him frustrated, which then he walks into the more accurate punches of Terence Crawford, not the knockout shot, but the shot that rocks him, that Bud could put enough pause on him to get the judges to be like, all right, it may take a while. He may get him in that situation a couple of times. I'm gonna keep it a beam with everybody, and I said this. I do see a scenario where Canelo might catch Bud, and because Bud was in a precarious foot situation, he might get knocked down. Glove touch the ground. I can clearly picture that type of scenario, and then it's kind of the same mentality as Mean Machine and Gamboa, to where is all right. You cracked me with a good shot. Now forget about Terence Crawford. You dealing with Bud right now, and that's where the fight dynamic really gets interesting if that scenario should play out. But overall, at the end of the day, like I'm saying, styles make fights in this one, and I honestly have Terence Crawford TKO stoppage, maybe in the
Around
10th, 11th.
around what? Around 11?
Yeah, 10th, 11th round.
Interesting. I mean, that would be some epic shit if Crawford knocks out Canelo. I mean, that would be life changing in boxing.
I mean, for the fans and some of the haters, it has to be something along that line because you asked for this fight. This is something you pressed. So
That's true.
a half-ass victory, we gonna be like, what was that? I'm gonna be like,
Yeah.
what was that? You asked for this shit. I thought you was gonna do way better than this.
Yeah.
Even if it's a close fight, it's like,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. You don't want to walk away from this fight and people are are like, did he really win?
Yeah.
It's because then it's like you're talking about rematch, and then it gets murky waters because there's a large amount of people that want to see Benavidez and Canelo, and Canelo's
Exactly.
getting older, and and then you always have that little asterisk on your career. Nah, man,
This
like
is his Eminem moment. You got to lose yourself in this moment, bro.
you really, I think, like I said earlier, he's got nothing to lose really. Because if you go out on your shield, or you go in and you put your foot down and you impose your will and you get caught, you get caught. Like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, sure, Crawford fans might be upset about it, but anytime you dare to be great and you take it to the man, and you come up a little bit short, sometimes that's life. But and I think it's easier to live with. I mean, sure, you have nightmares at night because you got knocked out maybe for a bit, but I think that kind of fades away, knowing in your heart that, I trained my ass off, I stepped to him, and he caught me. That's boxing. In comparison to you try to half-ass it, and you try to, coast to a victory, and it was controversial, and then you got to live with that shit forever. Look at one of the biggest fights that I like to refer to is Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, where George Foreman, he took it to Ali like he always did to everybody that he fought. And it was just that Ali had a better game plan, roped and doped him, got him tired, and took him out. But I don't think George went home thinking like, damn, I don't know if I can ever recover from this shit mentally. You know what I'm saying? Because he went out there, he put his foot on the gas. When everybody was saying, Boomba Ali and all this shit, and no one wanted Foreman to win, and he went out there and tried to knock his ass out. And he got knocked out himself, but I think, he said in multiple interviews, like, it is what it is. I went out there, I did what I could do, and Ali just had a better plan, and he was a better man, and that's fine. But I think if it was George try to do some off the wall shit and try to, box Ali and try to, you know what I mean? He's not being him, number one. And number two, if you end up losing a decision, you're going to look back and be like, man, I should have just took it to his ass. And so I feel like Crawford's kind of in that position to where you just kind of got to go in there and like you said, AC, like this is my time to show people who I really am. You got to pull out every tool of whatever tool that you haven't pulled out yet in your career. Now's the time. If you got a motherfucking like Toyokin fucking Street Fighter move, you pull that shit out, bro. Like you got to pull out all the stops and let people know what's going on. You got to do some Mortal Kombat shit in there, because if you go in there and you trying to like pitter patter the jab and you just try to box your way to a victory and you get Canelo frustrated, the crowd's booing you, don't go in there and do a Paula Malignaggi type shit. Jab, 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 throw a shot, hold, break it up. Nah. But, Crawford ain't that type of guy anyway. So I'm not too worried about that. If I'm his coach, I'm going to say, all right, you got 3 rounds to establish your range. You got 3 rounds to see how the jab's working up and down. You got 3 rounds to see and feel Canelo's weight and body on the inside. See how it feels to throw a couple little short inside punches. Get a hook in there. You don't got to double, triple, quadruple shit up, right? Save your energy. And then by round 5, you start putting on his ass. You start putting combinations on his ass, right? Make him be the person that has to make the decision. You're dictating it. Make him beat you. Force him to beat you, right? Don't put it in the hands of the judges. Don't put it in the hands of the crowd. Don't put it in the hands of the referee. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
So K-Rod, what's your I see Plat Boys. What's good, bro? I see you, man. Good to
What's
see you.
happening,
Before
man? What's up?
yes,
What's up?
sir.
Good to see you
Yes,
back,
sir.
baby. Good to see
Man,
you
look at
back.
your setup in there, man. This guy,
Man, come on,
he
man.
got
Don't
8
do it to
screens
me.
and shit.
Don't do it to me, man.
Yeah, nice setup. Nice,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Damn.
nice.
Uh, K-Rod been waiting though, so let's get K-Rod's official prediction, and we'll swing it over to Plat Boy.
Oh man. Honestly, I feel like this fight is like such a classical fight that you would see from like I say from like the early 1900s, where like let's just say if this is Sugar Ray Robinson going
Man,
up
you go
against
way back.
yeah. Like I'm a very old school type of guy, even though that I'm young. But I definitely like going back to the Charlie Burleys, Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Gans, you know, Jack Johnson. I like all those guys. I think this is that type of fight. If you know what I'm talking like about. I think Crawford has that style that you haven't seen in a while, where if you can do it all, you can personify a style that no other fighter can see coming. And I think Canelo will be in for a tough battle that he's never seen before. And I think if Crawford, if he plays very smart into this fight, Canelo he'll be in trouble because I think Canelo Alvarez has that fear when anything that he uses in a fight to think that he could just automatically beat you because he has the judges on his side, he has the referee on his side. He has like basically he has that Mike Tyson like effect of like mental pressure to like deviate a fight where the fighter does not focus on winning. The fighter's just there just to fight Canelo because it's just the of the spur of the moment for any fighter to just go in and just not really come to win. They're just giving like the fans a fight, but they're not really bringing it to Canelo to actually make him think in a fight. Because if Canelo was in that type of fight, you would have been seeing that a long time ago. So I think with Crawford, this is a really good litmus test to see where things are going to go in this fight. And I think in my final prediction of how I see this, I got Crawford by split decision. I think Crawford is going to beat on Canelo, but I think there's going to be some discrepancies because the one big problem that I don't like out of Crawford is that like when Crawford gets hit with like a good shot, he wants to do the same thing back at you. And I think that's what's going to show in this fight with Canelo, because Canelo he likes to play mind games with his opponents, and that's where I believe Crawford is going to have that. He's going to have like that really dark battle where it's like, okay, he hits me with something big. Do I have to do it back to him? Canelo hits me with like a big dirty shot. Like do I do it back to him? So Crawford has to think really deep in this fight where do I do the same thing what Canelo is doing to me, or do I personify a style that Canelo hasn't seen before, where Canelo cannot do the things that he claims to say that he can do to everybody else? And how do you separate yourself from all the other opponents that Canelo has fought to make yourself into a difficult opponent that Canelo will say, okay, I can't I can't beat Crawford. And I mean, leading up to the build up for this fight, you've seen that Canelo, he's never said he's going to outbox Crawford. He's not going to outwork him. He's not fundamentally gifted like Crawford. Canelo has always said to Crawford, "I'm going to knock you out. I'm just going to bring it to you. I'm going to bring this pressure to you." Because Canelo knows that Crawford is not that type of fighter that's just going to go toe to toe with him. So Canelo, he has to do more work compared to Crawford, but Crawford, he still has to be he still has to be disciplined in this fight, because one little move that Crawford does wrong, Crawford can easily lose everything, in that fight. So if he stays defensively switched on, and this is kind of like similar to like a Floyd fight, then I think Crawford, he's going to give Canelo a really difficult fight, and he could very well easily win this fight. But this is all going to be Crawford's battle. And if he beats Canelo unanimously, it's all going to be based off of Crawford's strategy, being smart to know when to engage with Canelo, to not just be off the back foot and just try to be like a good boxer. It's all about making Canelo respect you, but Canelo he cannot figure you out when he's already exhausted his resources to get to that point of us stating to himself, what do I do? And I think that's where Crawford, he has to make that final decision, like that final decision within that fight to say, what type of style do I go? How do I break Canelo down? Because once he figures that out throughout that fight, I think Canelo, he's really going to show his weaknesses a lot faster. And if Crawford, if he gets close to hurting Canelo, he's going to really show, those flaws a lot quicker. And I think Crawford, he's going to take those flaws out of Canelo a lot faster in the later rounds, heading into the championship rounds for this fight. So I got Crawford.
Yeah, and before I let Platt Boys jump in, I just want to add something real quick what K-Rod just said, which is, you're right. It's something that I pointed out in my breakdown video, is Crawford kind of has this like trigger in his head when he gets hit with a big shot, and all of a sudden, instead of being like, oh, let me be a little bit defensively responsible and maybe I should take a step back, he's like, oh, you hit me, so I'm going to hit you, kind of thing, And from a boxing standpoint or a boxing fan standpoint, that's great because it makes a great fight. But in the times where he has been hurt, that's when he gets hurt. Is when he opens himself up, when he, gets hit with the shot, and then he just like, all right, well, fuck you, and just tries to, hurt or knock the guy out. And then he gets hit with a really bad shot that, wobbles him and he looks vulnerable. And at 168 against a guy who could legitimately hurt you, that's the one, if I had to choose one big risk, that would be it, is he needs to be, I guess maybe reminded that this isn't 140. You're in the big boy leagues now. Swallow your ego if you have to a little bit, swallow your pride, take a step back, gather yourself, recollect, be smart, and you don't get reckless. You got to be in control at all times, because Canelo, being the guy who's not as athletic, if, he wants you to get reckless. He wants you to get into your emotions. So you make a mistake, because Canelo is really good at, taking a shot, cutting it short, cutting it on the inside, hitting you with the shot that you didn't see. That happened to Billy Joe Saunders. And when Billy Joe, like, oh, I got a nice hit in, and he kind of got a little bit loose, and he's trying to like, throw some combinations together, and Canelo just, started sticking him with these inside shots. So that would be the only thing that I would, to K-Rod's point, that, if you're in Crawford's corner, the only time where it's okay to throw combinations, as I mentioned earlier, start putting it on him, but stay defensively responsible, because he's looking to catch something that you don't, or catch something and throw something you don't see. Be aware of that. And the only time where you really let go is he's clearly hurt. He's backing up. He's on the ropes. He's in trouble. Then you can try to finish him off. But don't get hit and be like, oh, okay, we're in the backyard now, so I'm just going to start throwing shit, because Canelo is really good at setting that trap. So I just want to throw that in. All right, Plat Boys, man, let us know. Let us know. I know you've been waiting for this panel, bro. You've been waiting.
Boy, yeah, man. I'm glad to see you back, bro. I'm riding with Crawford. My thing in boxing is, I love when the game gets like shook up. So in this fight, if Crawford wins, it'll be like a bigger moment for the sport for me. I'm going with Crawford by decision. I'm not sure if the weight, looking at the weigh-in right there when you had it up, it's looking like these guys are evenly sized. There's the rumor that Crawford is gifted with strength, wrestling ability, and he hasn't lost yet. That's another thing we have to look at, is Crawford hasn't tasted defeat as a professional, and the way The way like I think K Rod said about Crawford, I mean about Canelo only saying like I'm gonna knock you out or something like that is he knows that boxing isn't the way to beat Crawford. So that's an interesting thing to look at. I'm looking to see if I'm hoping Crawford comes in as a southpaw for the entirety of the fight. I don't think switching matters at that point. We've seen Canelo's best opponents, or as a southpaw. Even Caleb Plant is Caleb Plant southpaw? I think he is, or I might be tripping like Billy Joe or something like that. But one of them,
No, I think it's
Orthodox.
or
orthodox.
no, well, Billy Joe is the southpaw, I believe. But
Yeah.
like even in those fights, if those guys stayed the course, like they were winning those fights at the time. Him and Caleb Plant, and just make one mistake. Caleb Plant with his endurance issues, which showed up in the last fight also. Um, I'm thinking Crawford wins if he comes out and stays in the southpaw stance. But yeah, I got Crawford points. Even if Canelo wins, I don't see a knockout. It would have to be a close fight going to the bell, and I always believe that Canelo is up 2 rounds before he starts a fight anyway.
Yeah, and this, on your point there, Plat Boy, just something popped in my head is that there's a possibility that if it goes to the cards, the one separator, or whoever does get the nod, the one separator might be who hurt the other one. Like there might be a moment in the fight, maybe where a glove touches a canvas or a knee touches a canvas, or they clearly lost a round. They're trying to take a round off and they got beat up. It may just come down to that. It's very possible. And the question is, who is more likely to touch a glove on the canvas or take a knee? And it's hard. It's really hard. I don't know why. As much as I feel like Crawford's going to win this fight, it's hard for me to imagine Canelo touching the canvas.
Yeah, I was gonna
'Cause
say if we go based off history,
he's
it's
so
Crawford.
durable.
Right. If we go
He's
based
so-
off his based off history, Crawford has touched the canvas, not necessarily been dropped. Like we saw the Kavaliauskas, like to me that was a drop, but you know what I'm saying, it didn't get counted. He got rocked pretty hard, Gamboa. I mean, we've seen him like have to step back or something, but if we go based off history, if we had to bet who's going to touch the canvas, it would have to be Crawford.
Yeah, because I've seen Crawford, have his legs turn into jelly for a moment. I've seen him wobbled. I've seen him have to recover and stuff like that. And I keep the fight of the Triple G fight in my head. The Triple G, I mean, hit Canelo with some fucking hellacious shots, man. And Canelo was just eating that shit. He's just like Pac-Man. And it's just like, it's hard to imagine Canelo being put on his back, or even just taking a big shot and having to take a knee. And that's why this fight is so intriguing, because if Crawford can pull that off, I mean, we're talking about some historical shit. And it's not just a guy who's able to be undisputed in multiple weight classes and break that threshold and be in the history standpoint of it, but also to be able to be the first guy to knock out Canelo. I mean, Crawford could be, he could literally retire after that. He'd be like, yep, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knocked out Canelo. Nobody's knocked him out. I broke the threshold of history. I got nothing else to prove. Sail off into the sunset, and that'll be pull a fucking Mayweather, and retire. We all remember when Mayweather retired after he beat De La Hoya.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he could, and he. I mean, it would be hard to get upset at that, because he is what, 37, 38.
Yeah, 37, 38, somewhere in that ballpark.
He's in his late 30s. So, and maybe that is one of his secrets, We don't know. Maybe he's thinking like, this is it. I'm going to go all out, and I have nothing else to prove. I beat Canelo, and that'll be my legacy. I'm almost 40, and save myself, save my body for my family, and that'll be it. And nobody could really blame him because, like I said, at the end of the day, he's pushing 40. So that is something that could happen. And, all these little small intricate details matter in the fight of this magnitude, where, you have less to prove, you're going for glory, you're getting a little older in age, and you're just going to put it all on the table and see what happens. I'm glad to see Crawford look. I mean, he doesn't look 37, 38. The man looks 32. And at 167 and a half, he looks strong. He doesn't look like he's struggled really to make the weight. He's looking fresh. Looks hydrated. And yeah, I remember people saying way back in the day, like when he was at 147, I don't remember who. Well, I had somebody on the panel one time, and he came out and he was like, you guys don't know, I know Bud. Like, I don't know if they were from the same neighborhood or some shit, but he's like, yeah, I know Bud personally. Bud walks around at 170. I was like, what? The guy's fighting at 147. He's like, nah, he's a big dude. He's bigger than what people realize. And at the time, I was like, nah, I don't see that. Maybe he walks around like 155, 160. But he was like, nah, this guy, he's a big guy. He walks around 170 easy, and he cuts that much before fights. So maybe he's got that hidden strength that he hasn't really been able to produce because he's having to cut weight so much. That is also something interesting to think about. And his build, right? Because he's kind of long built, and Canelo's a bit stockier. He's, his bone structure is kind of like, you look at him at 147, 154, and now 168. It's like not a massive difference. Like, it's not like, oh, he's so much bigger, right? Because his bone structure is the way he's built. But with Crawford, like, you can see the difference, right? From 147, where he's like super lean and kind of, just kind of like built like an iron rod, to now what we've seen him today. You see the bulk, you see the mass, and it's like a clear difference of the change and the transition. And of course, the only thing that we have to consider is, will that slow him down? Because one of his best weapons is speed.
But at the same, thinking on that, okay, he hadn't fought in a year and a half, but he knew he was going to fight Canelo. So do you think that the time getting acclimated to the weight over that period of time helps him or hurts him?
It's for me, right? And I always come from this as a personal trainer perspective, because that's what I do for a living. Is that if you have ample time, right? Everything is about time. If you have to cut weight, you need time, right? You need time to methodically and carefully drop your weight, and do it smartly. And then it's in reverse the other way around as well. When you're trying to put on weight, NFL players go through this as well. When they're trying to slim down to be faster, or they try to bulk up to be bigger, depending on your position. And you see it all the time, where especially with cornerbacks and receivers, and some safeties, the smaller guys on the field, they try to bulk up because they're trying to deal with bigger guys coming at them, just be a bit stronger and bigger, but then they're slower. It's usually very clear that that's what happens. And then they slim down, and then they're faster, they're more athletic, but then they get hurt, they get injured, right? Because they're having to deal with guys coming at them that are 250, right? So it's something that, you have to be an anomaly. You have to be special to be an athletic freak, if you will, to be able to put on mass and still maintain the same speed that you had when you were 25 pounds lighter. Right. And so maybe he's that guy. That's what we're going to find out. That's what we're going to witness, is that he's just special. There's a couple of guys like this throughout boxing history who's able just to run through weight classes and stay fast, stay strong, not and then don't get knocked out. But we've also seen the opposite. We've seen guys move up and they become slow and they get their ass kicked. And then we've seen guys drop, they're too weak, they get dropped. So either you're special or you're not. That's what we're about to find out. Anybody can put on weight. Anybody can put on weight, even if you're a hyper lean responder like myself. Like for me, it's really hard to put on weight. Doesn't matter how much I eat, even at my age. I'm almost 40, and it's hard to put on weight, and I lose weight faster than I put on it. But if I really put my mind to it, yeah, I can put on weight. Just lift like crazy, eat like crazy. But am I slower than what I was before? Absolutely, and that's just a fact. It is just a fact of life, and I've done it before. I've trying to find that perfect weight where you're fast, you're athletic, but you're still strong. And genetically, you have to live with live with the fact of who you are genetically. That's the key point there. But you have these freaks, man. You have these anomalies that can just be, amazing, and be able to do amazing things. And I've seen it in person with different athletes that I've worked with that just blow me away, where they're 160 pounds and then over a summer, 3-4 months, they come back and they're 185, 190 bench pressing, 315, and you're just like, what? You're like a whole different person. And their 40 time is exactly the same as it was when they were 30 pounds lighter. So they're out there. So we're about to see my man Teach in the building. Saved the best for last. So it's good to see you, man. I know for a lot of you guys, it's probably feeling like, yo, Divine, he's still here. Shit, where's Divine been? But yeah, man, I'm here, and good to see a lot of these old faces back in the building, including Teach. So Teach, let the people know. Like I said, save the best for last. Who do you got winning this fight? So far on the panel, everybody's got Crawford in different shapes or forms, but more or less everyone's got Crawford. Who you got?
All right. Salute to everyone on the panel. And it's pretty much good to see you back, man. It's like you only come back for the big fights now.
Yeah.
So my take on the fight, man. Bud, technically 38 now since his birthday is in September.
Right.
So Bud, 38. He's stepping up 2 weight classes to pretty much challenge Canelo at 168. So, a victory would make him, the first male boxer, in this era, in the full belt era, to become, undisputed in 3 weight classes. So that's legacy for him. That pretty much solidifies, his status of one of the all-time greats, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then Canelo, reigning undisputed at 68, has a very good resume, coming up. And this fight is also critical for him as well, because he's fighting, one of the pound for pounds that everybody knows in Bud Crawford. So to me, this is legacy for him as well. I don't care if, he's fighting a smaller guy coming up. Everybody knows who Bud is. And the setup for this fight, has been good. I pretty much like, the press conferences leading up to the fight. Plus, the location that it's taking place is kind of fitting for both guys, right? The Allegiant Stadium, that holds like a massive crowd of what 60, 70,000, something like that.
Yeah, they said it's like 72,000.
It's gonna be crazy in there, and it's gonna be a pro Canelo crowd too.
Yeah, so I'm hoping like it gets like packed, like a full attendance, because it's a fight that people didn't see coming, but now now that it's talked about, I feel like people got in the groove of this fight, and more people wanted to see both of them. So hopefully it's a packed crowd, with pretty much lots of views. So the way that I see the fight going, I'll keep it simple. I feel like Bud needs to stay in the center of the ring, and fight Canelo the way that he did against Spence. Working the gaps, when Canelo throws his punches. Obviously, I mean, he's going to have to stay defensive. He's also going to have to incorporate movement, but not too much because, if he constantly moves, the judge pretty much might think, Canelo is the aggressor and, pretty much think that he's controlling the ring generalship. So use movement, but not too much, in my opinion. As for Canelo, I think he should use his size, pressure Bud, get him against the ropes, and pretty much beat him up. And Canelo being a bigger man, he could definitely do that. But again, depends on the type of movement Bud is going to incorporate, right? We know Canelo is not really the best guy cutting the ring off, but we'll see how that goes. But as for Canelo, no doubt, Canelo is a slick fighter because he has very good upper body movement. So I want to see how Bud is able to land his offense as well. And in my opinion, both guys are highly skilled. In my opinion, it's like a 50-50 when we talk about skills. I think Canelo is just as skilled as Bud, and I think he has the same IQ as Bud. Like Canelo is definitely a smart skill boxer. So we'll see who wins. One thing that I want to say though is I am interested in the aftermath on this fight, to see, what the media says. Also, I feel like leading up to the fight, when we talk about camps, who had the better camps, I feel like Canelo had the better sparring partners because he got Boots in there, he got Yoen Lee in there. We know with Boots, we get the both stances, orthodox and southpaw. We know with Boots, you get the hand speed. I think the hand speed is going to be critical in this fight. So we'll see how it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Having Boots in there, that's an excellent point, actually. And not just the hand speed, but the power too. Not that they're trying to knock each other out, but if Canelo gives him the green light to throw some big punches in sparring, just to kind of feel that resistance a little bit. That's interesting. And Boots, he's the type of guy, rather it's a fight or sparring session, he don't bullshit around. You know what I mean? So he's gonna come in and put that work in. So like at the end of the day, you came in a little bit later, Teach, but for me, like I said, it really comes down to me. The highlighted word for me is athleticism, and obviously, as we all know, for us as boxing fans, who wants it more? And it may come down just to that little small factor. And they're both very motivated guys who neither one of them have ever quit in a fight. Neither one of them have ever, showed any type of like unwillingness to fight. And so you got two guys who are very determined. And so it may come down to that little bit of extra 1% of who wants it just a little bit more. Who's willing to dig deep in 11th or 12th round if it's a close fight? Who's going to go all out the last minute of the 12th round to solidify the victory? It could come down to that as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try my best to go live during the fight. I should be, I'm planning to watch the fight, obviously, but I don't know if I'm going to set up the camera and all that different stuff. Let's see how I feel about it, because I know people really enjoy my live commentary. The cool thing, too, about this fight, it's on Netflix, which I think is cool because, you're going to get people who may not be super good or big boxing fans, but like for me, where I'm at in Thailand, it's going to be like Sunday morning, which is actually pretty cool because most people are off work. They wake up in the morning, they turn on Netflix, like, oh, what's this? And it could help propel the sport forward, which it desperately needs, especially with the amount of, you know, craziness, like Jake Paul fights and all that type of shit, that give the wrong perception of what boxing really is. You know, look at the difference between a Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight compared to this fight. You see what I'm saying? And that's what the casuals or the people who are not as aware of what boxing's supposed to be, it gives them a chance to see, like, wow, this is a real fight. You know, this is, you feel the energy, you feel the legacy, you know, and even if you don't watch boxing a lot, you're going to be able to feel that. And boxing needs a facelift. It needs a just a refurbishment. It has suffered greatly ever since, I would say, post Mayweather era. The last time, I think, where people who don't really watch boxing that were really super excited to tune in was probably Wilder and Fury. And since that, it's just kind of a little bit lackluster. There might be some people that watch Usyk and stuff like that, but this is the chance for boxing to kind of get a revival. And so I'm excited for that. And it's one of the reasons why I don't come on here as much, you know, because I just feel like people have started to slowly lose their grasp on the essence of boxing and what it's supposed to be. And quite frankly, MMA, UFC is just completely beating the shit out of boxing. You know, when it comes to putting fights together and getting people excited for it, and not that I'm against UFC, I watch fights here and there, but I'm a fucking boxing fan, bro. Like, at the end of the day, that's where my passion lies. And boxing has taken a big black eye in that battle, I guess you can say, on viewership and popularity. But this is a chance to revive it. So I'm excited for it. And if I'm going live, you guys are going to see it. And feel free to jump in. I know people, I mean, from what I gather, people like, you know, honest, unbiased commentating, and rather than whoever's ringside. A lot of times it's very biased and not so entertaining. So if you guys see me on, jump in. If not, I'll definitely make a post-fight video, let you guys know my thoughts, and I'm looking forward to it. So any closing thoughts, guys, feel free to jump in as I wrap this up.
Just
No,
great
yeah,
show,
I
man.
never said
Appreciate
what
you
Yeah,
coming
happened.
I
back.
wanted to.
Oh,
Next one.
you wanna
Huh?
go, K-Rod?
Yeah. Like, I'll go. I just want to say thank you for having me on. I think this is like a conversation that I definitely needed to have, because I think, like, you know, having like conversations like this is like what any rational sport of fans would have. And sadly, like, boxing is probably like that one sport where it should be on top, where people should just have, like, you know, any conversation and just move on, you know, with like the next, you know, big fights. I think with this type of you know, dialogue that was being spread is definitely like definitely great, you know, for the channel, and, you know, great for, you know, having, you know, great, you know, open conversations to, you know, to understand different perspectives. And hopefully that you know, in due time, you know, that the boxing fights that us hardcores want to see can be fulfilled sooner than later. So therefore we can contribute a lot bigger, you know, for this particular boxing generation. So just like to say thank you for having me on, and definitely like to come back, like, again, you know, next time that you ever go live.
Yes, sir. You're always welcome, brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. I never said who I had winning, but um, see, if either one of them, wins, like, I'm fine with it. But in this fight, I kind of feel like I favor Canelo since he's more acclimated to 168. But even though I favor Canelo, I mean, I would like Bud to win. And you know, I would personally like this fight to end in a KO somehow, either Canelo KO and Bud, or Bud KO and Canelo. That's how
I agree.
I would want to see the fight end.
Mm.
You know, it just adds that excitement and drama to the the fight. and we
Yeah.
know who a clear winner would be, right? So
Yeah, make it clear. Yeah.
hope the fight is action packed tomorrow, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, 100%. I think we will. I think we will. Yeah, we're not dealing with someone who has either one of them has a record of trying to play it safe and box and and take rounds off. I mean, Canelo does sometimes, but that's usually because he makes himself winded. But we're not dealing with two guys. That's what makes this fight appealing to me. Is I think we got two guys that really want to win and will do everything they can to win. So it's a great recipe. Platt Boys, any final thoughts?
Man, I just want to see a grueling back and forth fight and somebody get knocked out the last 10 seconds of the 12th round. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just hoping we get something close. I want to see some drama. You know what I'm saying? I want to see like everything, man. I want to see Bud with some body work. I want to see Canelo. Actually, I want to see if Bud can hurt Canelo. Like we've never. He got the best poker face in boxing, man. I just want to see, like, of course, action, but I want to see like dramatic. Like I want to see like, oh, like we didn't expect this and that, because anytime you build a fight up this big and it don't pan out all the way like it's supposed to. But yeah, I'm just hoping for really. I'm pulling for Crawford, but if Canelo win, oh well. Like, but I just want to see a fight, like back and forth drama. I want to hear the commentators and how they gonna pick sides. You know how that goes. But yeah, I like the whole experience, man. But I'm glad you're back, and I appreciate you for having me on.
As always, man, and just like everyone else, you're always welcome. And look, if I go post fight live, then of course feel free to jump in. And hopefully, like you said, it's a lot of drama, there's a lot of excitement, and we have a lot to talk about. Because the worst thing ever as a boxing fan is you come on post fight, you're like, oh man, I don't really know who won. Some bullshit with the judges. Like, man, that's the one thing that I dread.
But remember, you got Tim Cheatham. He's the most notorious. He's the most notorious judge out there with the widest. He'll have. We'll have a close fight. With the eye test, but his card will be, like a 9-round or 3 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think he comes in and the first 3 rounds he just ticks Canelo's name right off the bat.
Yes, and that's what I'm afraid of.
And but again, like I said earlier, man, I think Canelo and his team's aware of that. How could you not? You know what I mean? They pay attention to boxing enough to know they've watched the tape of Canelo fights. Canelo is a student. Sorry, Crawford is a student of the game. He's probably at home with his family and his team watching Canelo, Austin Trout, Canelo, Erislandy Lara, and seeing how that fight could have went either way. And I think he's aware. I think he knows that he needs to do more than just try to play it safe, because it's going to be a pro Canelo crowd. We got judges that always vote Canelo, and they're judges that like kind of feed off the crowd as well, which they shouldn't do, but they do. And Canelo does this ooh and ah type shit every once in a while. He'll just explode and land a big combination.
He just has more people in the crowd. So whenever he do anything, it's just going to be, a wave of noise for Canelo.
100%. And judges get persuaded by that, even though Crawford could be putting in work for 2.5 minutes of the round, and then Canelo wins 30 seconds, and then they give it to Canelo. So that's one of those things that I just really hope doesn't become a factor. But all we can do is stand by and hope for the best. And like I said, hopefully next time we come on here, it's going to be excitement. And even for me, I agree. Even if Canelo goes in there and knocks Crawford out, then you got to tip your hat to him, and all those people who are hating on Canelo over the years and nitpicking his resume, and I've done it too. I'm not going to deny that. You got to give him his credit. You got to give credit where credit's due. So we want a clear victory. As a boxing fan, you want a clear victory. It's better for everybody. It's better for boxing as a whole. So that's what we're looking forward to.
I just
All
want to
right,
say one
gentlemen.
more thing. One
Yeah.
last thing. Prior to the fight with Canelo and Mel Charlo, it's like I felt like Mel Charlo could do something to Canelo. Unfortunately, he didn't. But Bud looks in better shape than Mel did at 68. Like Bud looks in fantastic shape. And Bud carries this like unexpected presence about him, right? That same unexpected presence he carried in the Spence fight and just sparked them.
Yeah.
He has the same presence right now with Canelo. So hey, we may be surprised. Like we may see like a one-sided beatdown. Who knows?
And everybody was shocked. To add to that real quick, everybody was shocked, including myself, because I went live commentating Bivol Canelo. And I was shocked. I mean, it wasn't like a massacre, but Bivol was just outpointing Canelo pretty much every round. He was just one step ahead every punch, and I think he hurt Canelo a few times. And I think Canelo had a nice poker face and whatever have you. But from me, being experienced as I am watching boxing, I think Canelo was definitely hurt and hesitant to let go of certain punches because he kept getting caught. That's the
if you go back,
only. Yeah.
my bad. If you go back and watch Bivol in that fight, notice he went forward with combinations when there was the opening, but he never overextended looking for a knockdown. So I mean, if Crawford can mimic something like that, he could win the fight.
Yeah, and Teach might be right, man. It may not be a knockout situation. It can just be a 12-round beatdown. Because Canelo's tough as nails, and he'll endure it, and he's durable, and he'll just make it through the rounds and tie up enough, or just do just enough to survive the rounds. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it could be, and we see that a lot at 160 and 168. It's not always like the big knockouts because they're middleweights, right? They're not small guys, but they're not super big guys. And usually it's beatdowns or late round knockouts for the middleweights and the super middles. And they're small enough to have the stamina, but they're also big enough to land really big punches. So it's one of my favorite weight classes, middleweights. 160 to 168 is one of the best weight classes because they're middleweights, or they're right there in the middle. They give you a little bit of everything. And you're right. It could just be Crawford's speed is just too much, and he just picks Canelo apart for all 12 rounds, or maybe he quits on the stool. If there's a broken bone, or if there's bleeding, or there's so many factors in boxing that can take place. But
frustration, all this stuff kick in.
Yeah, and I don't think Canelo's not a dirty fighter. There's other fighters out there that get frustrated. They try to do some cheap shit. Throw elbows, low blows, and stuff like that. But I don't think Canelo's that type of guy. And it may just come down to getting desperate, throwing punches that he normally doesn't throw, getting caught. And that's another aspect to look at it. It could just be, because Crawford essentially did that to Spence. He just beat him up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He beat him up and knocked him down a couple of times, and it was just a beatdown. And it could be that without the knockdowns, but it just that's another way you can win. It's hard to give the fight to Canelo if he's just getting beat up every round.
Yeah. One good thing about this, and when we talked about the drama and action, both fighters get hit. Both of them get hit. My biggest point the biggest thing I'll be watching in a fight is, like K-Rod said, if Crawford tries to get his lick back in every exchange, I think it'll be trouble for Crawford. But that's going to be my biggest thing to watch for tomorrow.
Yep. All right, I'll probably see you guys at some point tomorrow, either post-fight or during the fight, and looking forward to chopping up with you guys. And I appreciate all the love, people that did stop by. I've been gone for a long time, so I didn't expect it to blow up in here, but hopefully we can send out some waves and let people know Divine's back in the building. Those who hit the like button, that helps let people know. So I appreciate you. And yeah, guys, looking forward to tomorrow.
All right, salute,
Take it
fellas.
easy, man. We
All
appreciate
right,
it.
you guys have a good night.
Over.